And I have to say to him, where are the documents? The humble address was nearly 12 weeks ago. I remind him that the House on that occasion asked for a huge range of things: the due diligence document that was passed to number 10, the conflict of interest form, the material the FCDO and the Cabinet Office provided to the UK security vetting about Peter Mandelson, papers for and minutes of meetings relating to the decision to appoint Lord Mandelson, electronic communications, and so on and so on. Where are they? Since February, the government has asserted that it is working with urgency, that it is doing what it does, and everything will be available very shortly. That it is working, at least reassuring of government phrases, at pace. And that today's favourite, that the information will be available as soon as possible. As soon as possible, no doubt, after the local elections. Of the documents that have been released, what we appear to see is either an enormous cover-up or a very significant breakdown in the expected process of government. We have seen nothing from the Prime Minister, nothing from his Chief of Staff, nothing from Peter Mandelson himself. We have seen no minutes of meetings, no billets doux, no annotations, no box returns. The official civil service guidance on this matter says explicitly, keep submissions with ministers' comments. If ministers write on a hard copy, keep the ministers' handwritten comments. Keep correspondence reporting ministers' responses along with background provided to ministers in the medium in which they were created. None of this. Either this is a cover-up, Mr. Speaker, or it is a terrible return to the sofa government of the days of Tony Blair. Simon Case told the Prime Minister that in order to complete due process, there had to be security clearance before he made the appointment, and there had to be a conflict of interest declaration by Peter Mandelson. To date, we have seen none of that information. I am pleased by what the Chief Secretary of the Prime Minister says, that material associated with Mandelson's vetting is now being handed to the ISC, but where is the conflict of interest form? I hope it is not the case that this is just being disguised as personal information of the sort that he said would not be disclosed. And I'd be grateful if we would confirm that it's not. But what I would really like him to do is confirm that that declaration of interest form exists. There is no good reason why he can't tell us whether it exists. Indeed, the former Attorney General, wrote the other day in the papers that there is no legal reason why the government cannot tell us what documents are being retained by the Metropolitan Police. There should be a catalogue of all documents that exist, even if the House can't look at them. We should be allowed to know what is out there. We should be allowed to know what will come to us in due course. The titles of documents will themselves not prejudice a trial. On the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister's words today, he talks about he's talked about the non-disclosure of personal information. I say, please tell us about the conflict of interests form and whether Peter Mandelson's personal information is considered to be in scope of that ruling. On redactions, will he please set out what the government's precise approach to redactions is vis-à-vis the documents that will be given to this House rather than the ISC? It will be useful to understand his thinking. On electronic communications, despite this being in the humble address on the 4th of February, I understand from the Cabinet Secretary who wrote to me at the weekend that there was no instruction to hand over non-corporate comms until the 13th of March, about 5 weeks later. Why this delay? Is he confident that no material was deleted in the short term, in that 5-week period? How can he be sure? And on the ISC release, I again ask him to confirm or deny whether that release contains the information about Lord Mandelson's interests. This is of specific concern to the House, given how Peter Mandelson may have been behaving when he was ambassador in Washington, and given meetings that he may have taken the Prime Minister to. It is time that the government came clean, not on its own terms, not to its own timetable, but to the terms set down by the House. So will he finally tell us a hard deadline for when these documents will be handed over?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Right Honourable Gentleman asked me a number of questions, which I will take in turn. To the question of where are the documents in scope of the humble address are currently in one of 3 locations. First, with the government waiting for the publication of the second tranche. Second, with the Intelligence and Security Committee. And third, with the Metropolitan Police. We have sought to publish all of these documents in a combined bundle in relation to the documents the government holds and those which the Intelligence and Security Committee are considering, in order to aid the House in seeing the documents in a chronological order. Otherwise, I suspect there'll be questions about what documents were missing subject to the conclusion of the committee's work. I can confirm that documents that relate to Peter Mandelson's security vetting have been passed to the Intelligence and Security Committee today, and that we intend to publish those as part of the second tranche subject to those discussions with the Intelligence and Security Committee. I was asked specifically about the documents that have been given to the Metropolitan Police. He will appreciate, I'm sure, that I've been advised that I'm unable to list those documents on the advice of the Metropolitan Police, and so I won't seek to do so. He asked me about redactions policy. The key redactions policy is obviously in relation to information which the government considers to be prejudicial to national security or international relations, which goes through the Intelligence and Security Committee for consideration. If there is a disagreement between the government and the committee, there is a process of redactions hearings between the government and the committee to resolve those disagreements. And as I mentioned in my statement, other redactions relate merely to information such as the names and contact details of junior officials in line with established freedom of information policy as it relates to the publication of humble addresses.